If anybody's ever heard of SPUD.ca, it's pretty much the leader right now on the entire west coast of Canada and the United States of sustainable produce delivery. And it's more than that. And I think what we're going to hear about right now is more about what's happening with SPUD.ca and how they've been growing and how, to me, they're kind of exploding into a whole other market, which is just about to happen with a new store they're opening up. So I'm very happy to have Peter Van Stolk with us tonight. So he owns SPUD.ca. He previously owned a company which I met him many years ago, Jones Soda. So anybody's ever heard of Jones Soda? That was his as well. So please join me in welcoming Peter, and he'll talk about his SPUD.
I'll give you a bit about my background, and then I'll talk about what sort of perfection is in the food. And I'm sort of the off bar here. So I founded Jones Soda in Vancouver in 1995 with the theory the world doesn't need another soda. And it was going up against Coke and Pepsi, and it was sort of like an FU on let's figure out how to compete against those guys. And I had a distribution company, and I hated, so my background is I was the lead importer for Arizona iced tea in Canada. And I hated being told how to do business. So I wanted to create my own thing, and I created a product called Jones. And when I originally created Jones, it was a really artisan soda. But what happened is they screwed it when the formulation came out, and it had to go change. So my story is about adapting and changing. So Jones turned out pretty good. We sold over a couple billion bottles, so it's pretty big. It was a publicly traded company, got to about $1 billion market cap, so did okay from starting on the Francis Street in East Van. And I retired in 2007, not wanting to sell sugar water. I thought, I just don't want to do this shit anymore. And so I looked around at what could I do. And it was, by the way, Jones did a lot of cool things on the soda side because we were the first to change the whole thing, but I didn't want to sell that anymore, so I was looking around, and SPUD was in dire straits, and my banker said you should look at SPUD. And what it is to be a perfectionist, that's a question. And if you're a perfectionist in chocolate, or you're a perfectionist in sushi, or you're a perfectionist in anything, it's a discipline. It's the ability to trust yourself versus trusting someone else's opinion. Because if you're a perfectionist, you really have to understand what is right for you, and it comes back to what's right for the customer. So, as someone who's been able to play in a big league with Coke and Pepsi and compete at a level, I've always learned that you have to play by your own rules. And if you want to be a leader in the coffee business, you have to sort of say, I'm going to lead, I'm not going to follow. And that's perfectionism. That's taking a position saying, I'm going to go this way, and this is how I'm playing. So at SPUD, we came in 2010 and looked at SPUD. And SPUD is an online grocery store. It went into some off times in 2008. It acquired a couple divisions in California. And so I went around and I did my due diligence. And I think that's perfectionism, where you go around and you research, and went to New York and looked at all these places and started to realize that there's this huge opportunity, but you're going to have to play the game differently. And so I hired this kid from Harvard. And if perfectionism is hiring university students because they have access to data and it's free. So if you ever want to hire somebody, go to UBC, get a data, because they have all the data. It's all free on there, and it's really helpful for you guys because they have all the data that you need, and you don't have to pay for it. Pay them, don't pay this. It works really well. So learned about what's going on in the online business, and online represents 3% of the grocery business, and in between British Columbia and Alberta, it's a $23.4 billion annual business. And online represents 3%, and it's projected to go to 17%. So that's a big number. In Canada, it's an $85 billion business, so how can you be relevant to customers in an online space? So from my perspective, it's been 4 years to figure out how to be relevant and how to compete with all the challenges that we all have to compete with. You all have to compete with different challenges, and I have different challenges, you have different challenges, we all have different challenges. So a lot of this time is to figure it, and so we've now created this model that we think is world-class. We think it's and if I don't think it is, then why would I stand up and tell you? So it is, so I believe it, that's the deal. Because if you don't believe it, no one else will. And that's, remember, no one believes in your shit, that you have to believe in your own shit. And it is world-class. And we are now launching our first store in Kits, and it's going to call the Community DC, where we're able to do bicycle delivery from that store, have instant delivery, so the customer, because that's a challenge with, it's all about distribution, logistics, how do you do it? And from a distribution side, and then focus on local products. So how can you focus on local products and do it in a way that helps the local providers and do it in a unique way? And it's been a challenge to learn how to do it. But I think the most important thing about when you ask the word, what is a perfectionist? And what does it mean to be a perfectionist? And why is perfectionism so important? Because you don't lower your standards. You believe in who you are. It's more important for you to keep your values, core values, to a level that's important to you. And those values are critical. And then those are the times when you stay up at night, because you're the only one questioning yourself. Those are the time at night where you can't fall asleep and you're going, holy crap, am I doing the right thing? And those are the times when you say, oh my God, I've got 2 stores now, not, and the stress is all. Those are the time when you believe in yourself. So part of this, what was intriguing about coming today and talking about perfectionism as someone who doesn't make something. Now we are going to make some really cool stuff, and I'm very in particular about what we're making, and it's nice to, and I have made a lot of products in my life, but turkey and gravy soda is not that perfectionist, and a blue bubblegum, root beer or soda, who cares? But now we're starting to really make some really cool stuff, and we've got some cool things. So when you come into our store, it's on First and Cypress. First of all, you'll see that there's no branding. It's really very, very elegant. You'll find that there's a cafe. You'll find that there's a deli. You'll find that there's a cooking class. You'll find that it's focusing on sustainable, local, seasonal. You'll find out that we're asking chefs to come in and talk about how to cook with local, sustainable, seasonal items. We're talking about, we have yoga classes in there. We're talking about, we're giving away samples that no one's ever seen before. We're talking about, you can pick up your stuff instantly, or that if you come in the morning, we'll be there in the afternoon, or you can have it delivered the next day. We're talking about technology that no one's ever seen before, where we can have influencers. So if you're an influencer of me, I can put your own store and have food delivered through your website and Facebook page like no one else has ever done before. So that's, to me, what perfection is. That's what we've done. And that's kind of the fun thing, where you sort of get in there and say, I'm not going to play by someone else's rules. Because if you play by someone else's rules, you're going to follow them. And I don't want to follow anybody. And if I blow it up, I blow it up, but I'm going to blow it up in a way that's going to be really cool to the people that work with us. And we have 325 employees now who are passionate, excited, focused, and really keen on what we're trying to do and accomplish. And hopefully we can change the way people look at food, because I think that's critical today, is that the way people look at food is wrong. And if we look at how food can change our communities, our diets, our health, it's amazing. So that's all I have to say. I think am I time?